Hi, everyone. I'm Grace, and welcome back. So, I've got something super interesting for you today, Graham. And, I can't wait to dive into this one because, it's honestly jaw dropping and one of the strangest cases I've ever come across. As always, please hit the subscribe button and let us know if the comments if this is the craziest true crime story you've heard of.
Oh my goodness, yes. And I've been absolutely dying to talk about this one on Case Close because, well, it's just absolutely wild from start to finish.
Um, so here's the thing. We're talking about what became known as the pizza bomber case. And, it's exactly as bizarre as it sounds.
It really, really is. And you know what's incredible? It's got everything. Like, there's this pizza delivery guy, a bank robbery, and this absolutely insane scavenger hunt that ends up, well, let's just say it gets pretty dark.
The whole thing almost sounds like, something out of a movie, right? But this actually happened in Erie, Pennsylvania.
Exactly. And trust me, the reality of this case is way more twisted than anything Hollywood could come up with. Like, every single detail just adds another layer of complete insanity to the whole thing.
Okay, so, could you walk me through exactly what happened on that day?
Right, so it all started on August 28th, 2003. And this is where things get really intense. Brian Wells, he was just this totally normal pizza delivery driver doing his regular rounds, right? And he gets this order to deliver to this really remote location.
That already sounds kind of suspicious.
Exactly. And what happens next is just, mind-blowing. So Wells shows up at this PNC bank in Erie, and he's wearing this really bizarre thing around his neck. It's this massive metal collar, right? And there's this box attached to it that looks absolutely terrifying.
Wait, so he just walked into the bank wearing that?
Yeah, and that's not even the craziest part. He walks up to the teller and hands over this note demanding $250,000. And the whole time, he's telling everyone that he's being forced to do this because this device around his neck, it's actually a bomb. And he's saying that if he doesn't get the money, it's going to go off.
Oh my god.
And you know what makes this even more intense? He's actually carrying this homemade cane gun. Like, it looks just like a walking cane, but it's actually a functional weapon. And the whole time he's in there, he's just getting more and more agitated because he keeps saying he doesn't have much time.
So was he actually being forced to do this?
Well, that's where things get really complicated because at this point, nobody really knows what's going on. The bank teller only manages to give him about $8,700, which is way, way less than what he asked for. And then he just walks out with this bomb still locked around his neck.
So what happened after he left the bank? Did he just try to escape?
Oh, no. This is where things get even more bizarre. Because, and I mean truly bizarre. See, when Wells left that bank, he wasn't actually free to go anywhere. He had this whole set of instructions, right? And these weren't just any instructions. We're talking about this incredibly detailed multi-page scavenger hunt.
A scavenger hunt with a bomb around his neck?
Exactly. And the thing is, these instructions were absolutely meticulous. Like, they had these specific directions, hand-drawn maps, and they were telling him exactly where to go, what to do, how much time he had, everything. The first location was it was in this parking lot near the bank.
So he actually followed these instructions?
Yeah, totally. Because, the note said that if he followed all the steps perfectly, he'd find the keys and instructions to disarm the bomb. So he's driving around Erie, right, following these super specific directions. And each location has like a new clue or instruction.
What kind of locations are we talking about?
So there were these really specific spots. Like there was this wooded area near Interchange Road, a sign near an eyeglass store, and even this place under a specific rock. Each spot was supposed to have these keys or codes that would eventually help him get the bomb off.
That's absolutely terrifying.
Right? And here's the thing that makes it even more intense. The instructions were written in this really threatening tone, you know? Like, they kept emphasizing that if he didn't follow everything exactly, or if he tried to contact the police, or if he took too long, the bomb would just go off. They even had these specific time limits for each location.
So how many locations were there supposed to be in total?
The full scavenger hunt actually had like 9 different locations mapped out. And each one was supposed to lead to the next, creating this whole complicated path around Erie. But the really twisted part is that it was basically impossible to complete in the time they gave him.
So did he manage to get through all the locations?
No. And that's where this story becomes absolutely devastating. See, while Wells was trying to follow these instructions, he actually got stopped by the police, right? And this happened about 40 minutes after the bank robbery.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's really tough to talk about, but I think it's important to understand what happened. So, when the police stopped him, Wells was he was frantically trying to explain the situation. He kept telling them, like, I'm not lying, there's a bomb around my neck. And he was begging them to help him get it off.
That must have been just absolutely terrifying for everyone involved.
It really was. And the thing is, while they were waiting for the bomb squad to arrive, the device it went off. And Wells was killed instantly. This happened right there, right in front of the police officers, news crews, like everything was being filmed.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and that's when things got even more complicated because, you know, initially the authorities weren't even sure if Wells was actually a victim or if he was, like, somehow involved in planning this whole thing. Because, I mean, the whole setup was just so elaborate, right?
What made them question his involvement?
Well, it's interesting because at first, some investigators thought that maybe, just maybe, Wells had agreed to participate in what he thought was going to be like a fake bank robbery, you know? But then things went horribly wrong. But, and this is really important, later evidence showed that he was truly a victim who had been forced into this horrific situation.
This whole thing is it's just unbelievable. So, who was actually behind all of this?
Well, and this is where it gets really, really wild because the masterminds turned out to be Marjorie, D.L. Armstrong, and Kenneth Barnes. And the thing is, Marjorie was actually like this incredibly intelligent woman with multiple degrees, but she also had some serious mental health issues.
What made them do something so horrific?
So the whole thing was basically like it was all about money, right? Marjorie needed funds to hire a hitman to kill her father because she wanted to get her hands on an inheritance. And the thing is, she actually collaborated with Kenneth Barnes, who was this former TV repairman turned drug dealer, to come up with this absolutely insane plan.
That's such a bizarre motive.
Oh, totally. And you know what's even crazier? They actually spent months planning this whole thing. Like, Marjorie was the one who came up with the idea of using the bomb collar, and Barnes helped construct it. And And they specifically chose Brian Wells because they knew his pizza delivery route and figured he'd be, you know, like an easy target.
How did they actually manage to pull all of this off?
So, get this. They had this whole network of people involved. There was this guy, William Rothstein, who was like a handyman and a substitute teacher, and he actually helped build the bomb in his garage. And the really twisted part is that they actually did multiple test runs of the scavenger hunt to make sure everything would work exactly as they planned.
That level of planning is terrifying.
Absolutely terrifying. And you know what makes it even worse? They were so confident in their plan that they actually wrote out detailed instructions, drew maps, everything. Like they really thought they had created this perfect crime that no one would ever figure out. But the thing is, they made one crucial mistake.
So, what was their big mistake? How did investigators finally crack this case?
Well, and this is the really fascinating part. The investigators started connecting the dots when they discovered that, like, all these people involved actually knew each other. You know what I mean? Like Marjorie and Barnes and Rothstein. They all had these weird connections in Erie's criminal underworld.
That must have been their downfall, right?
Exactly. And the thing is, the investigators got their first real break when they were looking into this completely different case. A murder of someone named James Roden. And here's where it gets really wild. They found his body in William Rothstein's freezer.
Oh my god, how was that connected?
So, Roden was actually Marjorie's ex-boyfriend, and she had killed him because he knew too much about the pizza bomber plot. Like, it was this whole twisted web of crimes that just started unraveling. And the FBI agents, they started putting all these pieces together, interviewing people who knew them, following all these different leads.
That's incredible detective work.
Oh, totally. And you know what really sealed the deal? Kenneth Barnes eventually cracked under pressure during interrogation. Like, he couldn't keep the secret anymore, and he started talking. And once he started, everything just came pouring out. He gave them everything, the planning, the bomb construction, Marjorie's involvement, like everything.
What happened to them in the end?
So, Marjorie was sentenced to life plus 30 years in prison, and Barnes got 45 years after cooperating with prosecutors. And the thing is, Rothstein never actually faced charges because he died of cancer before the investigation was completed.
You know, this whole case is just absolutely mind-blowing. The fact that something like this could actually happen in real life, it's almost unbelievable.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what really gets me? Like, this case completely changed how law enforcement deals with bomb threats. They actually created new protocols specifically because of what happened to Brian Wells.
That's, at least something positive came from this tragedy.
Right. And the thing is, this case really showed how complex these investigations can get. Like, what started as this bizarre bank robbery turned into this whole web of murders and conspiracies, and you know what I mean? It's just wild.
Well, that's all we have time for today on Case Closed. Thank you all for listening.
And remember to subscribe and leave a comment below if you want to hear more wild cases like this one. See you next time.